Welcome back. Now, according to the 2019 census report, 2.2% of Kenyans live with some form of a disability. Beyond that, many of them find it difficult to get work to support themselves. And the reason why approximately 67% of persons living with a disability in Kenya are impoverished. Tonight, we look at the nightmare that is job hunting while living with a disability. Take a look. This is Brian, a young paralegal on his way to what looks like work. We find him navigating the busy streets of Nairobi's central business district, donning a suit with a laptop bag in hand. He looks the part, only he doesn't have the job that the attire goes with. Brian is actually dropping off his CV at a law firm.
Unfortunately, I've been turned down, and in some cases, they'll tell me, we will let you know.
This is one of over 20 law firms that Brian has left his CV with. It's a journey that started last year after he graduated from Mount Kenya University with a law degree. Unlike his peers, Brian started the job hunt with an added disadvantage. He has a hearing impairment that made growing up a lot more challenging.
I learned to live with the rest of the society who were hearing, and so I did not have the privilege of using a hearing aid back then. I just went to the normal school, and at the time my parents were not financially capable of purchasing me one, so I would actually copy notes from my deskmate and then later read on myself.
But even with a hearing aid, his impairment still impedes his chances of landing work in a highly competitive field with limited slots. His determination, however, wouldn't allow him to quit.
And I decided to go back to the drawing board and amend an action plan. And I decided to connect with lawyers via LinkedIn to at least involve me in this legal aid clinic where at least I could use this into my advantage.
Brian's story is far too common among persons living with a disability in Kenya, especially when it comes to finding work. According to a report by the Aga Khan University's East Africa Institute, the unemployment rate amongst the surveyed Kenyan youth in 2016 was around 55%. When it came to estimates for persons living with a disability, the unemployment rates were about 40 to 60% higher relative to their peers. That gap is what the Kenya Business and Disability Network is trying to close. It's an initiative started by the Federation of Kenya Employers 2 years ago to help create more inclusive workplaces. Over the course of last year, over 100 persons living with disabilities were employed at various companies. However, even with this achievement, corporates still have a lot to do to accommodate people living with a disability within their workforces.
These companies have not been prepared. Look at perhaps this person is physically impaired and you need some changes even in the structure for the person to be able to access the workplace, for the person to be able to effectively move around and be able to become productive.
By law, at least 5% of all casual, emergency and contractual positions in employment in the public and private sectors should be reserved for people with disabilities.
Is a work in progress, but as I said, there are challenges to get also the right candidates, depending also on the occupation the person is in. And that's why we have all the efforts we are doing under Kenya Business and Disability Network to ensure that then we are able to move many of the workplaces to get that target.
The Kenya Business and Disability Network carried out a survey in 2021, evaluating its 46 members. It revealed that on average, 1.4% of members' employees are persons living with a disability. The highest member had 50% of its employees being persons living with a disability. In terms of absolute numbers, every member has at least 10 employees that are persons living with a disability, with the highest having 142 staff. Brian wants to eventually be counted among those who call themselves gainfully employed, but also tasks one other entity to help create a more conducive environment for persons living with a disability.
Something needs to be done. We have a government here, and this government has to execute on this law. We can't be having good laws, and the issue we are having boils down to execution. Execution means empowering the community, and when you empower the community, you are shaping up the economy.
And so, whether able or abled differently, the right to work will continue to be the desire for Brian and countless other Kenyans wishing to make their contribution to the country's economy. All right, now